Jackie, public be heard.
Two people speaking, Ellen or Stefan.
Ellie?
Ellie, come on up and if you want to sit or stand.
Reggie's not coming if you want to go.
He's not coming?
No.
He's not coming.
Not coming tonight.
Well, my name is Eleanor Stefan. This is a response to the article in the Woodstock Times about my situation that we spoke about last week. I think my noise situation is separate from Airbnbs. If my grievances continue, it is, can any absentee homeowner rent to any number of variable groups to do whatever they want in spite of many neighbors' complaints? For 2 years, I talked to my next-door neighbors about letting me help them soundproof. No bass, please. No drums, please. No amps, etc. As well as alternate appropriate places bands go locally to rehearse. And I don't have time to name them all. There's a lot around. Because our cottages are 12 to 20 feet apart. I now have no life because I'm on constant alert. Whose cars are there? Will they begin early or late? Can I have dinner first? Are they going to go out? You know, all that stuff. The amps are like assault guns, and I am truly being violated. I have followed town's restrictions during the 25 years in my home. I wanted chickens. I came to the town. They told me I could have one chicken. I chose not to have the chicken, but I didn't make a fuss. In 1970, I was summoned to the New York City morgue to identify my kid brother, age 24. He died from drugs, and I have worked with young and old ever since, and I am in recovery for 32 years. I don't consider beer consumption at music parties as drug-free alternatives. There is bullying and there is right and wrong. I am being bullied. It is a simple resolution of keeping one's noises confined to your own house. I don't want a quiet time and a noisy time like Jared wants. There should be no penetration of noise into my home. The elderly of Woodstock deserve respect and caring as much as the youngsters. You might be amazed at what you would discover. Like Ellie Stefan, started the Women's Drum Circle in '93. And I have played taiko drums at Hunter Mountain with the best. I deserve a quiet time, 24/7, in my beloved Woodstock cottage. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen.
Go ahead, Mars.
Hi.
How are you?
Okay. A couple of months ago, February 13th to be exact, I stood up here talking about the cemetery board and requested that we be sanctioned as an official board. 2 months later, I'm standing up here and saying what happened. Haven't heard anything. Don't know why. I think we've given you all the information that you need, and it's still not happening. So, you know, we're wondering what's going on. We're certainly displeased that it's been taking at least 2 months, because now it's probably going to be more. And I don't know whether you're dragging your feet because you think we're going to go away, but, you know, it's me. I'm not going away. So, you know, we have to deal with that.
You haven't heard from me?
Well, I'm saying I haven't heard any decision about what to do with the cemetery board. Yes, I've gotten your emails, but nothing official has happened. And let me just say
that's an official opinion.
Yes, but that's not an official creation
I
of the board.
understand the difference.
Right, yeah.
But I was reacting to that you hadn't heard anything.
Oh, well, I mean, the creation of the board, some decision
Okay,
one
this
way
is
or
public
another.
be heard, so
So let me just say to everyone that anybody can bring a resolution. You know that. You don't have to wait for Bill to do it. You can do it on your own, bring it to the table, have a discussion, and take a vote. So, if Bill isn't ready to do it, I encourage...
Why would you assume it was me?
Because...
Two people can bring anything to the board.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That if they think they're waiting for you, they don't have to wait.
So I will be announcing later tonight that I will be requesting names. Anyone interested, I will be appointing a task force next week.
A task force?
A task force next week.
For what?
The cemetery.
Instead of a board?
The task force, yeah.
Okay, I don't quite understand why a task force instead of a board. But if that's something that you're all going to vote on, because you all have to vote on it.
No, actually, the supervisor appoints a task force.
Okay, but if the board still wants a cemetery board, then like I said, you can all bring
You saying
a resolution.
You're saying cemetery board or cemetery committee?
Whatever you want to call it.
Well,
it's
no,
official.
because task force applies one thing, committee
Well,
applies.
yeah,
So
it would
that's
be,
why I'm
yeah,
asking.
I mean, I don't know what a task force does. I mean, we're here as
We-
volunteers. We want to help. There's work to be done.
There absolutely
And
is.
a task force to me is something that is temporary and that does not keep going. A committee or a board is something that stays. And that's what we're looking for. Because we want to be ongoing.
Okay.
We have work to do. I mean, you're always talking about volunteers and how valuable, and the town can't run with volunteers. You've got a group of people
Without
ready
volunteers.
to work.
Right.
And yet, nothing is happening. So all I'm saying is let's get something done.
We've come up with some guidelines, and again, I will be asking for people interested in a task force.
Which to me is a temporary thing.
Well,
So
Possibly.
Can I make a statement, Phil, if I may?
go ahead.
The town is new to owning the cemetery.
yes.
And I think the idea is having volunteers, whatever we call it, we're going to start out somewhere and have people who want to help have the door open for ideas and all that. So whatever we call it, this is where we start, but maybe 6 months from now or a year from now, something else will make sense. But at the moment, I think this is the thought of where to start.
Well, that's your opinion.
Thank you, Iris. Anyone else? That's it? Okay, so
Sorry, not doing a noise.
Iris already had me do half my announcement. Next week I will be appointing a task force to do a number of tasks at the cemetery, and I would ask that anyone is interested to contact the supervisor's office, and I will be making that appointment next Tuesday night. Also, just for anyone who came out, we will not be opening the public hearing for the noise ordinance this evening. We will be at the end of the agenda discussing it amongst ourselves, and any public that wants to stick around, we're happy to take comments, but it won't be an official opening. Next Tuesday, we will be reopening the hearing and possibly voting on a law. So, just...
Bill, did you say that it takes 2 people to send in a resolution?
Yes.
Any resolution?
Any resolution, Jeff.
Well, I've been on this board for 13, 14 years, and that has never happened
It's the
before.
rules that we adopt every year, Jay.
I don't recall that particular rule in the adoption.
Okay. I'll get that for you tomorrow and send it to you. That's been the rule. I believe Jeremy initiated that.
No way, no
I've
way.
never heard
I've submitted, Bill, we're conversing.
Yeah, we are conversing.
No way did Jeremy do that or
He absolutely
he allowed me to do that, which he wouldn't do. I've submitted resolutions for a long, long time as an individual member, and they have never been coming back to me sorry, you're not two people.
Jay, the rules that we adopt every year, and I'll send it to you tomorrow, is the supervisor sets the agenda. If 2 board members make a request, it's put on the agenda. We adopt that every year. You've done that for 13 years. At the beginning of every year, we do that.
Well, then I'm only left to wonder how come that rule has never been enforced.
I don't know that it's never been enforced.
I do.
Okay. Kirk, you are going to give us a presentation on the comp plan?
Sure.
Tell us where you're at.
Okay. Great. Jackie. Displacing Jackie here.
We look much better in that chair.
Thank you for having me. My name is Kirk Ritchie. I'm the chair of the Comprehensive Plan Committee. And I'm here. I was asked by Bill to come and give a brief update on where the project is. And so that's why I'm here speaking with all of you. The project is about a year old. We started about a year ago this month. And we spent the first 6 to 7 months. Well, the first month we spent just getting our act together and getting the committee aligned and such. And then we spent 6 months plus gathering public input on what people were thinking, what people were experiencing, where they would like the town to go. And so, and the project itself is made up of, we have an outside consultant, Beacon Consulting, which they proposed the project as having 4 parts. The first part is where are we now? The second part is where are we going? Those 2 parts are more of like an inventory and current conditions, if you will, of where we are. And so that was an assessment that was done by a committee prior to the start of the project. And a very thorough inventory was taken of all the assets, if you will, of the town. And then where are we going is also part of the planning that's already in play, right? It's already in motion by the various departments and such that's going on. So those are the 2 parts that we captured and we articulated, and we now have a document that addresses where are we now and where are we going. The third part is the vision, or where do we want to go, where do we wish to go. And the final part is how are we going to get there. The Comprehensive Plan Committee has completed parts 1, 2, and 3. So what basically we've done is we've assembled a document that is in draft format that articulates those 3 parts. Where are we now, where are we going, and the vision. The vision was made up mostly of the input from the firehouse meetings that we held. We had numerous firehouse meetings, one in each firehouse around the community, so each hamlet would have the opportunity to come and speak in a small setting. We found that small settings were oftentimes very, people felt more inclined to speak. They felt more safer. Sometimes people have difficulty speaking with large numbers, so we made them smaller, and it was really great results came out of it. A lot of expression, a lot of communication came. We also had a meeting, I think for the first time, maybe it could be stated otherwise. We had a meeting with the second homeowners. Again, a firehouse meeting. So we invited second homeowners to come and specifically to address and speak to their concerns and their issues, which were very interesting. And then we've had public meetings, as some of you know. Where we reviewed. We also conducted a community survey that was held through to the latter part, if you will. It was sort of the culmination of the gathering of information or the public comment period, right? So all of that was assembled in a document, and then from there we identified key areas, and we conducted what we call a focus group session. And within that, there was a number of people that were gathered, about 35 people who were gathered, and each of those groups were facilitated by a professional and captured all the notes of what was stated. So the reason why I'm saying all these details sort of this is that it culminated into gathering and the vision part or the recommendations part of the document, which is being completed at this point. What's remaining is the 4th part, which is how are we going to get there. Now, the committee itself was really outwardly facing in the first 6 months, and then in these, I say since December, we've been sort of more internally focused. That's why you haven't heard much from us, and haven't seen much from us from in various public meetings. But we are now at a point where we're going to probably be holding another public meeting over the next, I'd say 30 to 60 days. I'm not quite sure exactly when that will be. So there is really, we're wrapping it up. Basically, we're coming to somewhat of a conclusion of this, and the end result will be a document that everyone will have access to. We will present it to the board when it's completed, and there will be a public comment period, of which then the board will have an opportunity to adopt the plan. It's always been our focus from the beginning to hold that as a priority, so that we can make sure that we can deliver a document, a comprehensive plan that is one that would be adoptable. And so that's been a foremost focus of ours. I don't think I'm leaving anything out unless there's anything else that needs to be said. There's a few members of the committee in here, but if anybody has any questions, either from the board or otherwise, please.
So you within the next 30 to 60 days, you believe you'll have another public meeting?
Yes, and that, if you allow me to explain what that would be, why we would hold a public hearing, is more to review where we are, the completion, if you will, of the document, and present the results and present some of the major recommendations that we're making to the town.
So that would be the last meeting. That would be the you'd have a draft final document then.
We anticipate that the draft will be really close at that point,
okay.
And that, because again, that hearing may yield some other elements that we would want to incorporate into the document. So it's not going to be a baked, if you will, fully baked document when we have that event. It's more of like, hey, this is what we've done, this is where we are, and again, another opportunity for people to make their comments and such.
Okay. So then another month or two possibly, and it'll be then a document coming to the town board.
Yeah, and that's what I'm anticipating. It'll be in writing now, so I guess I'll have to hold the committee to it.
You guys have been working hard. I'm not going to beat you up over a month or so. Everything that I've seen so far out of the group has been excellent. So.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we're really trying hard to hold a standard. Yes,
Yeah.
Laura?
So I just want to, as the liaison, as the town board liaison to the comprehensive plan, I've been to almost every meeting, the majority of the meetings, I think most of the public hearings, and I just want to compliment Kirk and the board, because this committee the comprehensive plan committee has been extremely thorough, and as Kirk says, a lot of listening, months and months of listening, trying every way to listen, between the survey, the firehouse meetings, the public hearings where everybody could go, having subject matter experts come in and speak to the committee at committee meetings. The committee has done a wonderful job, I believe, of listening in every way possible, and then bringing in experts to take what's heard and then formulate into the, as you say, the vision. So I just want to compliment Kirk. We've had excellent people on the board. I know Iris and Grace in particular have been great documenters, because Behan sends something, but Iris and Grace have made it look very readable and very something that you want to be reading. So many people on the committee have been so enthusiastic in sharing ideas. So I just want to, as liaison, seeing it firsthand, I just want to compliment you and the full committee for everything done.
Thank you,
up to this
Laura.
point.
Appreciate that. I did leave out one thing that Laura made me aware of, is that while we were gathering information from the public, we were also meeting at our committee meetings. We had every town department head and manager of the town, and also major organizations, the arts and culture community, the Chamber of Commerce, and other, Woodstock Land Conservancy. We've had those groups come before us and present their perspective on some of the things that they would like to see occur. And that too was incorporated into our document.
Jay?
Yes, Jay.
A while ago, a group of citizens decided that paying a couple of $100,000 for a comp plan was too much.
Well, to be accurate, It was not a couple $100,000. It was under $100,000, and it was more accurately about $65,000.
Yes.
So,
Correct.
you know, just,
Yeah,
to,
you're
just
right.
to set the record straight.
I stand
And,
corrected.
and of which we got $10,000 grants. To
Correct.
Right. So some of that was paid for by grants. But yes.
I stand corrected on that. Yes, you're right. And in any event, this document is the result of the work of those people. It was eventually assembled by Ed Sanders, so he has his name on it. But when I brought it tonight, my intent was to give it to Laura, and I realized that now I should properly give it now to you.
Okay, that'd be fine. Ed Sanders was invited to the focus group session, but we didn't
I'm
hear
going
him.
to make copies. That's his only copy, so
Okay,
that's
great.
why. Yeah, I'm going to make some
I'm going to
copies.
walk it
and
over and give it to Jackie.
present it.
So then if you do that, and we'll have that for you tomorrow.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Great.
but Kirk, the idea is, so my thought was when Jay presented this to me this evening was to give you a copy because
Yeah.
you wouldn't hurt to look at one more piece of information.
Absolutely.
It's more public input.
Yeah.
Correct.
Kirk, the short-term rental committee has finished its work and has submitted documents to the town. I don't know, I'm not looking for another meeting, but I don't know where you are on it. I don't know if we need to get together so we don't cross wires or,
Right.
it's up to you. But
Well, our
I can
stance
get
on
to it.
that particular subject was that in hopes that there would be a conclusion of the committee, that we would review and incorporate your recommendations into the comprehensive plan where appropriate.
We've made recommendations, the board just will take it up to some
Right,
point.
right. So we'll
I
probably
would say
continue to
I'd say
follow
we're
that
a little
track.
bit ahead of you, so we
Right.
should dovetail.
That'd be
Okay.
great, and that was what our hope was, Richard. That there would be we would be able to incorporate what your recommendations would be, and we could have that meeting. I'm not against that, and to review some of those
Talk
things.
to Bill and see what he's going to.
What's appropriate?
terms of-
Well, let's
where we're
talk
heading.
about that for a minute. Next week, I would like to reopen the public hearing on the noise ordinance.
Right.
So I'm hesitant to
No,
do
no,
both.
okay.
But would everybody be willing the following Tuesday to have a special town board meeting, and we can take up the recommendations of the committee?
I need to just check my calendar
Okay.
because you want to do the fourth Tuesday,
Yes,
which you know what day of the
I don't.
if we add what today is.
Let me know tomorrow.
Yeah, we don't have to.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, thanks.
And then after that, if it's appropriate, and again, we will take your advice as to giving us the results. If it's been accepted by the board, then we'll take those results, and that will obviously be then it's
Just
handled.
dovetailed into
Right,
it.
it's dovetailed in, and where it's appropriate, where it's aligned with our long-term plans. Because again, the comprehensive plan is a long-term plan where we didn't really spend a lot of time on short-term issues that are being faced by the town right now because we understood that there were other task force or other people involved in addressing those issues on the short term. Right.
Thank you.
We have
Good
a
job.
question out in the.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hi, when will the meeting, the public meeting be announced?
We're not sure yet of the date, and I'm waiting. A lot of it has to be coordinated with Behan, our consultant. And so what we are basically doing is this part of what we've done, part 3 is basically the heavy lifting of what we've been focused on. We really wanted to have that be settled, and we're now at that point. So I think you'll be hearing about a date relatively soon as to when it will be.
Is it in the newspaper or is it posted in the
It's always posted publicly. It's either in various ways. In the newspaper, there'll be a press release, there'll be maybe an interview or two, or possibly, and then, of course, Facebook and the website. So there's numerous ways in which it gets out.
Yeah, Kirk, and since I come to the meetings, when I hear about it, I tend to talk about upcoming meetings at
Right.
this meeting. Yeah.
Right.
And Bill, for the record, the 24th I actually am available. And do you know what time you'd want to have that meeting?
Probably 7, but
7.
we
Okay.
can.
I am available on the
Okay,
24th.
good.
Anything else?
Kurt, any other questions from the public?
Well, thanks for your attention.
Kurt,
Appreciate
thank you for all your effort, and
Yeah.
thank you to the committee for doing such
My pleasure.
a great job.
All right,
Good
thank you.
job.
All right.
Put a ton of effort into it. So why don't we go through the resolutions, and then we can talk about the noise ordinance a little bit. Be it resolved to hire Dawn Luchme as the parking lot attendant for the Rock City Road parking lot at an hourly rate of $15.69 per hour beginning May 1st, 2018 through October 31st, 2018, full-time seasonal.
Second.
All in favor?
Was that the same person last year?
Yes.
She was
She was very good. She was great.
I've already been in contact with her. We're talking about how to improve the look of the ticket booth a little bit. So she's sprucing up our town.
Yay.
Jay.
When will we be finalizing the opening of the Mountain View parking lot?
You'd have to ask Mike. You know, I tried to corner him the other day about when he thought he might be getting to that work, and I didn't get an answer. So you might reach out to him, but I'll give him a couple of days and hit him up again.
I'll get a hold of him.
Whereas the standard highway practice dictates that an intersecting road would have a stop sign, and the main road would have the right of way, and whereas Row Road is the main road and Row Court is the intersecting road, and whereas the visibility coming out of Row Court is blocked by bushes on private property, making it difficult to see oncoming traffic, therefore be it resolved, the Woodstock Town Board directs the Woodstock Highway Superintendent to install a stop sign on Row Road so that Row Court may exit safely. We could have a second for purpose of discussion.
Second.
And I'd like to discuss, as you know.
So we have a T intersection over here. Row Court is actually they're both dead ends. Row Road comes in off of Xena Road. Row Court goes off that. There, on the corner is some very high bushes right up to the edge. We don't have a right-of-way there, so we can't trim those back. So there's at least one person on Row Court that has a very difficult time when they come out to Row Court. Even if they stop at the intersection, they really don't have good visibility looking up. And part of the issue is on Row Road, there's a legal B&B, so we have folks who are not familiar with the area coming and going all the time. So in consultation with the highway superintendent, he and I went out and we took a look at it. If the bushes came down, it wouldn't be an issue, but it's a fairly extensive hedge. It would all have to come out. It would require extensive landscaping. So this just seemed a simpler alternative, and all the parties out there are agreeable and don't have issue with it. So, Laura, you had...
Well, my concern was, because I went out there as well, I did a little site visit, and I certainly agree that the hedge gives privacy to the property that's there, and it's obviously taken a lot of years to grow, so I don't have any issue with that. My point of confusion is, when I was there, and because I went on Row Court and came out, and I understand the reason why they need people on Row Road on the other end to stop, but when I went down Row Road and came out, I couldn't see Row Court either. So my point of confusion is, tell me again why we're not putting two stop signs, one at Row Court and one at Row Road, because you can't see either way. Why not have one stop?
First off, you will be able to pull out where the stop sign is on Row Road. You will be able to pull up enough to look diagonally across at anybody on Row Court. And the highway superintendent didn't recommend it. He felt the one was sufficient.
I know from being there and having zero visibility, I felt that there should be a stop sign from Row Court as well as from Row Road, because, and I don't know whether Row Court is a private road or not, but it is paved. It doesn't look like a private road, although it could in fact be.
No,
I
it's
thought
a town
that.
road.
What's that?
Town road.
Right. So I didn't know why, when you have a Row Court is a T intersection to Row Road, isn't there normally a stop sign there?
A T, yes, but we're making it opposite of what it normally is.
So I'm not sure why there wasn't a stop sign there to begin with on Row Court.
There are a number of roads where there aren't stop signs anywhere.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm not going to vote this down because it helps the safety, but I think we would help the safety more if we had two stop signs rather than one.
If you want to get Mike out there and take another look, I'm only going with his recommendation that one is needed.
Okay.
We can do another resolution if he really thinks, but nobody coming out of Row Road has raised the issue. It's Route Court that's raised the
And there
issue.
seems to be only like one property, maybe two, coming out of Route Road.
There's 2 properties coming out of each road, actually. The one coming out of Route Road, though, is a B&B. It's a business. So again, there's turnover. There's different cars every day, every week. Whereas Route Court is the same folks. So, it's just a little wake up for those folks coming out. Nobody's moving fast on either one of those roads.
And if you put one stop sign, so you've stopped the traffic flowing from one, they're supposed to stop and then proceed with caution into the intersection.
Right.
So with one stop sign, you've solved the problem.
Right. And if it becomes a bigger one, or if Mike feels differently as we move forward, we can always have an additional amendment. But at this point, he only felt the one was needed. So
Okay, well, we'll give it a go.
thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Be it resolved to adopt the New York State Unified Solar Permit application as amended by the Town of Woodstock Building Department. Second for purpose of discussion.
Second?
So this has been over in the purple folder. I don't know if you've had a chance to take a look at it. The state a number of years ago suggested, in an effort to encourage solar installations, that a unified permit application was created, so that if you went to Woodstock or Shandaken or Buffalo, the installers were filling out the same application. They've recently recommended some tweaks, which our building inspector is in full agreement with. She took those tweaks, and actually Angela Sweet did a great job of adjusting them and putting on our application. So this will just make it easier for everybody. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I just have to make one correction on this. Let me just see where it is before I start to read it. Okay. Whereas the town of Woodstock released design plans and specifications prepared by Bernier Larios PC, project engineer, for the town of Woodstock's New York.
The burial or honoring of people who've been killed in the war, soldiers. Are we, the town, prepared to shoo them away?
I have
I think we
I have
should
no
be
doubt
prepared.
Woodstock will show its best that day. Joe. I don't worry about that. I think, we're a small town. We know each other. I think we'll be okay.
Woodstock.
Plus, we'll have Clayton there.
I have never loved war, but I think most Woodstockers have come to respect the soldier and not blame him for the mistakes of our leaders in Washington.
Right.
And one of the important things about Richard and his service was he chose to be a medic. He did not want to carry a gun.
Yeah.
And I think that's important to recognize.
I was only concerned about those miserable people who come to decry that thing, and thinking that we should be prepared.
I will mention to Clayton.
I don't think we'll have a problem.
I'm
I
sure we'll
should
be
mention
fine.
we've talked to the people on Hillcrest, the people who own the houses or rent the houses. They're all okay with this. There's a number of things we have to do once this officially goes into effect on May 28th. We have to. Bill has already contacted the post office, but there's a few other people we have to contact to make sure all the paperwork goes through and all that. One of which is you. We have to make sure you know. You'll get a letter from me.
So, Jackie, I would ask 2 things. One, if you could get a certified copy of this to Karen in the next couple of days. Schultz is up in the assessor's office for the emergency management 911.
Okay.
And she'll get that updated. And then you and I can talk about...
There's actually a list in the town law, section 64, of who you have to contact.
Right.
Okay.
And then...
And at some point, I'll get together with Jackie and we can do an official framed
the
version.
3 of us do, I'd like to
Okay,
do
you got to
something
sign it and all that. Yeah.
So can I say, nice job, Richard?
Thank you.
Great research.
Well, again, thank you to Fern.
Yeah, thank you.
She's responsible for the research.
Good team effort. I have some good news.
Yes, no,
Our,
Yay.
our new generator for this building showed up.
Oh, no, it was taken this afternoon.
No,
Oh, okay.
I knew you would.
And it runs really nicely. I mean,
Be it resolved to waive the Woodstock permit
Moving right
fees for
along.
the installation of a new generator for the town of Woodstock.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Smartass. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed that the Nebraska Board of Agriculture, to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture, that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout New York, the nation, and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil from wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs an average of $39 per tree per year, remove 261 pounds of pollutants each year per tree, produce life-giving oxygen, remove 24 tons of carbon dioxide each year per tree, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city, it should be town actually, increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of the business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Therefore, be it resolved, the Woodstock Town Board does hereby proclaim Friday, April 27th, 2018, to be recognized as National Arbor Day in the town of Woodstock, and urges all its residents to celebrate every Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. Be it further resolved to urge all citizens to plant new trees and maintain and care for our existing trees so as to gladden our hearts and promote the well-being of this and for this and future generations.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Bill?
Thank you to the tree committee. Jay?
I was about to say, I think we should notify
Tree
the tree committee and
committee
honor them too.
Has done a great job. I applaud them. I thank Michael Veach, the chair. He's worked, he and Cindy were over at the cemetery a couple of times in the last month or so. We've been looking at trees and coming up with a trimming program there, which is in desperate need, and they've just been very cooperative and a great group. So
And
I
they're
think they met
self-starters.
yesterday.
And they're self-starters.
They are self-starters, yes. With that, I have one more thing I'm going to do, and then we'll go to the noise ordinance. So I am going to appoint a recreation facilities task force, and I appoint Joan Schumann, Marion Durkin, Scott Hasty, Mike Stock Sr., Billy Denter, Barry Price, Vincent Christopher, and Kevin Christopher to said task force, and I appoint Richard as my liaison to that task force. This is a group that I've been working with for the last 3 or 4 months, talking about different projects on our ball fields and our recreational areas, and so they're starting to flesh out some plans. So with that, let's talk about some noise.
Talk about some what? Bill?
Noise. So I've had different conversations with different board members over the last month or so, and I'm going to propose we make a couple of changes to the document, and then we can go from there. The first change is in number 5 of prohibited acts. Councilman Wenk didn't like the word erection in talking about the construction of houses, so I'm crossing that word out and using the word construction. So that sentence will read, the construction, including excavation, demolition, alteration, or repair of any building other than between the hours of 7 a.m. and p.m. And number 6, There was, this talks about the operation of power equipment, and in there we had in residential zones. So I, in consulting with others, have crossed out the in residential zones. We'll just treat the entire town the same as far as the operating of power equipment. Two other changes that we talked about in the exceptions. In D, it talks about the operation or use of any organ, which nobody has exterior organs, so we cross that out. The operation or use of any radio, bell, chimes, or other instruments, apparatus, or device by any church, synagogue, or school licensed or chartered by New York State. We ended the sentence there. It used to say, provided that such operation does not occur between the hours of 10 p.m. and 8 a.m. The issue with that is, some of the churches celebrate midnight mass a couple of times a year, and we didn't want to run afoul of them. And I don't think the churches are going to be giving us a difficult time with noise. The other exemption was with regard to the installation of maintenance of utilities, and the town really doesn't have the ability to regulate utilities, so we just scratched that out of there. So that said, I'll start with the board. Do any of you have any other additional comments about the proposed law?
No, not at this time.
Not at this time. Richard?
I'm good.
Good. Lauren?
Looks
Yeah,
okay.
I do.
Jay?
Yeah. Well, just as a sideline, any ideas or concepts in here that relate to working people, I think, Bill, as the supervisor, you should recuse yourself from, because they will directly affect you, your income, your work, and so. Okay.
I'll take that under advisement, Jay. Thank you.
Okay.
So what was the first part of the...
I should recuse myself.
From because...
He's a worker that works there.
Construction.
Yeah, his Bill's business, and I'm not knocking it, will be affected by several points.
Actually, I won't be, because I never work.
I've heard that.
I'm never up
He's got a new job a year ago.
running a saw, or after 9. So I think I'm okay. Thanks. Go on. Next comment.
Okay. I think I've rewritten some conceptual things that I think could go in one paragraph at the very beginning. And starting with, every person is entitled to the enjoyment of property. And now this is what I've added. Within the town and the community, since sound that is reasonable to some is the opposite to other citizens or visitors, each situation must be adjudicated by a police officer in discussion with the parties involved. This requires that all persons involved in a noise complaint must participate in the discussion initiated by the officer, or lose his or her right to create any sound audible outside their premises, owned or rented, for the balance of that day. The same loss of freedom to produce disturbing sounds that produce the original complaint will not be allowed after midnight, as that relates to the prior thing. Another third complaint from the same source, attended by a police officer, shall be caused to permanently restrain that original careless noisemaker. Sorry, here. Did my...
Well, you're looking. Does anybody want to comment? I know you're not done yet.
Yeah.
I'm concerned of the overhead that would add, and a lot of... everybody's got to be there, and the police, and it seems like a lot of overhead. That's my comment. Seems like a lot of overhead.
Could be very time consuming. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a little concerned, Jay. So basically, you're saying the person who makes the complaint has to come out and talk as well? Is that how I'm understanding this? What if that person might be intimidated?
Pardon?
What if that person might be intimidated, not wanting to come out, is afraid, whatever?
Well, that's why I say a police officer should be there to.
Yeah, but then the police officer leaves.
Right.
Then they get called again. I mean, what would one do in a situation where there's angry, something going on between two neighbors, and somebody would call, or should call, or must call the police department to come out there? You know, the possibility of violence between people is very real. We read about it every day in every newspaper. And so we can't prevent the future from happening. We can only deal with what's happening at the moment. There can be a warning in terms of, from the officer, no more of this. Yeah.
Typically, though, when police officers respond to a call of conflict, the first thing they generally do is separate the two groups, not bring them together to mediate.
Right.
So this flies in the face a little bit with their training. You did send this to us today. I did send it down to, or yesterday.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
I sent it down to the sergeants in Clayton for their opinions, and haven't heard back yet. But
Yeah. Well, you know, Bill, over the years, I've been down at, say, Maria's, having some tea or whatever, and a nerve-shattering, life-shattering explosion of noise comes roaring up the street from a group of motorcyclists. Now, I know, because I've been told so by police all over the country, that that is illegal, that the motorcyclists have removed the baffles from their exhaust, and that it's easily discovered, the removal, by police. I'm not suggesting anybody else, coming out with a long stick and pushing it into the muffler. If it meets resistance right away, that's legal. If it doesn't, illegal by motor vehicle standards.
right,
Now,
and they can issue a ticket.
pardon?
They can issue a ticket.
Yeah. Now, for years, literally, I have asked our police chief to do something about that, to come out. It's invariably on a Sunday, occasionally on a Saturday. And when that godforsaken noise comes in, to go out, please, and, test these mufflers. They have always refused to do that. They've never done it, and it's a horrible, horrible thing. I mean, I don't know if you've heard that sound on a Sunday morning, say, in town. And that's much more common than the screeching of tires. I've never personally heard screeching tire in town, but a screeching tire is usually a very quick sound. It's done. I'm not excusing it or accepting it, but it's over so quick. There's no dealing with it.
So you're talking about number 8. I will remind you that this law came from the village of Saugerties, and we tweaked it.
The village of Saugerties.
Just let me finish.
I'm sorry.
That was in their law. I left it in there. I didn't see a reason to take it out.
Let us read the line again.
It's number 8, the making of improper noise or disturbance or operating a motor vehicle or motorcycle in such a manner as to cause excessive squealing or other excessive noise of the tires. Burning out.
I don't see a problem with having it in there.
Yeah. I mean, the issue with
ask everybody else their opinion.
the issue with the mufflers is that that's covered in the traffic law.
It takes longer too, but as you say, the mufflers are that longer.
Right. Squeeging your tires is not against the traffic law, so.
All I can say.
I'll ask Clayton about the mufflers.
All I can say about the village of Saugerties is all the newspapers report much more crime emanating from that village than our town. I'm skeptical about anything that comes from the village of Saugerties, though I know they're nice people.
I'm not going to touch that one. Did you have any other comments? I can tell you that I do the radio show with Bill Murphy, the mayor of the village of Saugerties, and he's a true gentleman.
I'm sure.
Yes.
I'm sure.
Fred Costello is his
And so is the police chief.
Yes.
So
back to our noise law. Do you have any other comments, Jay?
One.
Okay.
This is primarily a changing of language. On 7, operating the horn on any motor vehicle or allowing it to operate unheeded or allowing its warning signals to operate without attention is never allowed. Additionally, whenever a motorcyclist, either resident or visitor, whether operating individually in a group, this leads into the muffler thing. I'm sorry, one more thing here. Under exceptions, A, I would write it this way: alarms to alert people to the existence of an emergency.
Instead of the emission of sound for the purpose of alerting persons to the existence.
I think this language is clearer.
Okay. Well, you can all take a look at Jay's language and the language that's in there, and if you have any thoughts on it.
I did not intend to change the sense of the original resolution. And with my changes here, I was trying very hard to avoid doing that by accident. I just wanted you to know that.
So will you be sending us, Bill, the copy with the changes that you already said you had, and then and Jay will forward us his recommendations?
Jay's recommendations have been sent, and I will send these out tomorrow.
So this is the plan of records, what you have so far, and then we'll compare that to Jay's.
And not to say anything negative, but this resolution or changes or whatever was sent in by myself.
Yes. As opposed to who? Smile. As opposed to who? As opposed to who? Does the public have any comments they want to make about noise?
Somebody in the back.
I have a request that you read the proposed ordinance. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's a page. The making or creating of disturbing, excessive, or offensive noises in the town is a condition which has persisted, and the level and frequency of occurrences of such noises continues to increase. These noise levels are a detriment to the public health, comfort, convenience, safety, and welfare of the citizens. Every person is entitled to an environment in which disturbing, excessive, or offensive noise is not detrimental to his or her life, health, or enjoyment of property. This chapter is not to be construed liberally, but is not intended to be constructed so as to discourage the enjoyment by residents of normal, reasonable, and usual activities. Prohibited acts. No person with the intent to cause public inconvenience, annoyance, or alarm, or reckless creating of risk thereof, shall cause, suffer, allow, or permit to be made unreasonable noise. The purpose of this chapter, unreasonable noise, is any disturbing, excessive, or offensive sound that disturbs a person, a reasonable person of normal sensitivities. The following acts are declared to be prima facie evidence of a violation of this chapter. This list is not deemed exclusive. That means there may be other things included here that are not necessarily listed. Any unnecessary noise from any source between the hours of 11 p.m. and 7 a.m.